Hello everyone, this is Tinkering with B-Hav. I'm B-Hav. Today I'm going to be going through this lantern that I had trouble lighting the other day in my previous video. It caught on fire because I didn't tighten the generator. So I'm going to show you what that is and how that works. So I'm going to start off by starting to take this apart. It's pretty easy to take apart. You just take the bail off. This is called the bail for those of you that don't know. This right here is called the bail, and that's the handle. Okay, then you have the ventilator nut, which is this little brass piece right here. They're on top of every lantern. Okay, then you pull, this is the vent right here, the ventilator, because it vents, like it vents the hot gases out, right? This is coated in porcelain. It's not painted. A lot of people think it's painted. It's coated in porcelain. Okay, then we're going to take off the globe, which that's this part here. And if you look, it's pretty clean. This is a replacement one. The original one I didn't take camping with me because it's hard to come by and it's pretty old. So, but the vent's still pretty clean. So we will clean that up. And now if you look, this is what the inside of that lantern looks like. Okay. And this tube right here, this is the generator. And this nut right here is what I didn't tighten up. I just tightened it up by hand. See, the way it works is you put the pressure in the tank. It's got fuel and air in there, and it forces the fuel out. Well, that fuel goes up through this little pipe, through the valve, excuse me, up through the little pipe here, and gets really hot in the pipe, and then it vaporizes, and then that vapor goes up through here, mixes with air that comes in through these tubes here into the mixing chamber up here, comes out there, and then it burns. That's how a lantern works. It's actually a pretty simple process, but that's just what this is. So when I talk about a generator, that's this tube right here. So I'm going to take this top part off. This is the frame, right? This is the burn chamber, and these are the air tubes generator. This is called a mantle, in case you didn't know. All right, so I have to take this little wing nut that's here off, and then this whole frame rest here is going to come off. Okay, I just took that little wing nut off. Okay, and then this whole piece will slide right off, just like that. Okay, see, now that piece is right there, and that comes right off. Okay, now I'll show you what inside of this looks like. On this particular lantern, that's the valve down there, and this right here is the pricker level, for lack of a better term. It turns a little rod inside of here. It's hard to see, but there's a hole in the top of that, little bitty hole, and you turn this and it makes a little needle piece stick out through that hole and clean it out. Like, so if carbon gets built up in there or anything like that, this is used to clean that out. You just spin it around a few times, it pokes that needle up and down out of there and cleans it out. Okay, so I did not tighten up. Oh, that's a 9/16. When I put this together after I cleaned it all up, I did not tighten the generator. So I just put it in there hand tight, and fuel came out, leaked out, caught on fire, and was burning all over the lantern. So, like I said, now I'm going to take it apart and I'm going to clean it because it left a little residue. You can see some lines and some dirt on there. It's not quite as shiny as we all like things to be. So I'll take it back apart and just shine it up and put it back together. I'm not going to take the valve out or anything like that because there's no need to do anything like that. I just got to clean the nickel. But I wanted to show you how this generator works and what it looks like, the pieces on it. Okay, so there. All right. So there's just this nut. It's a compression nut. And it goes down on there, and then there's a little fuel in here because it still has fuel in this lantern, and I just burned it this weekend. There's that little rod I was talking about, and that little hook hooks on a part in the valve that rotates and moves it up and down. Now I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to show you. You can see that little teeny tiny needle on there. It's hard, it doesn't focus real good, but that's what pokes through that hole. Okay, and inside of here there is packing. Sometimes it can be asbestos. I've seen cardboard tubes in there, and I've seen just steel wire or copper wire in there that just gets hot and vaporizes the fuel. So that's it. That's pretty much how every lantern works. The valves all look a little different. Some of them are bigger, smaller. Some of them, the pricker tube or the pricker is a little different, but generally speaking, that's how they all work. So, and you can look. You see that little piece that moves up and down in there? That little piece is called the eccentric block. It's got a weird shape to it, and depending on the valve, they're all a little different shaped. But it's called the eccentric block, and that's what that is. So that was my fault. Like I said, I didn't tighten that generator nut down. It just leaked fuel. So I'll get this cleaned up, put back together. I will tighten the nut this time so I don't have that problem in the future. Okay, originally when I started making the video, I wasn't planning on showing you any of the cleaning process or putting it back together, but I didn't hit the stop button, so it recorded the whole cleaning process. So I'm going to try in the video editing to shorten that up a little bit, just to show you a little bit. I'll tell you what I did. I used my ultrasonic cleaner back here, and I cleaned the frame rest and the nut on the generator. I didn't want to soak the generator in the ultrasonic cleaner because I didn't want to get the interior packing wet, like if it's asbestos or if it's cardboard or whatever it is in there. I don't want to get it wet because it might take a long time to dry out, so I didn't want to hurt it. So it is, everything's clean. Then I have some degreaser here. It's like it's actually this Zep all-purpose cleaner degreaser. I just use it straight in a spray bottle. I sprayed the tank really good with that, and then just buffed it off with a paper towel, and then I used a little microfiber cloth just to kind of try to shine it up a little bit, and it cleaned up pretty good. So everything is clean and ready to put back together. I'm going to do that now. I'll show you how simple it is. So you just take the generator. You have to make sure that eccentric block is up like that. So if you see it sticking up with the hole in it, then you put the generator on. You have to hook that little hook in the hole, and then slide the generator down onto it and tighten the nut. And well, I'm not going to tighten the nut all the way until I put the frame on, because this one's a little, the generator is just a touch bent, so I want to make sure it's going to line up. Oops, I forgot to put this on. So all right, so we're going to put the frame rest on, not the frame rest, the collar, excuse me, on. There we go. The collar just slips right back on there like that. You got to have it like that. You read on there, it says 236 major. This is a Canadian lantern, so one of the things on there is that is in French because it's from Canada. Not all Colemans have that, but this one was made in Canada, so it has some French on it. Okay, so if you look at that, the bottom of that, this big hole, that's where the generator goes. This is the hole you light it through. That's where the generator goes, and that goes over the nut in the middle. So I want to make sure that when you put it on there, the generator has to go back into this hole here. So this one, if you look at it, it's hard to see it, but it's a little bent. Like, I don't know if that's from the heat or what, but I didn't want to tighten it up till I made sure it lined up with that hole. So now it's lined up with that hole. I am going to give it a nice snug up with my 9/16 wrench here. And we're going to put the wing nut back on. I was trying to save the mantle on this lantern while I cleaned it, but it didn't look like it's going to work. There's a few holes in it. It'll still burn, but the problem is when there's holes in it, excess heat comes out that hole and it can discolor and even distort the glass, the globe. So if there's ever holes in the lantern, in the mantle, I don't know if you can see those little holes in the bottom that'll let extra heat out. It'll be like I'm not going to say a blowtorch, but it'll be like a little flame coming out of that, and you don't want that. That's bad. It can discolor parts in your lantern. It can distort and discolor the glass permanently, like you won't be able to get it clean. So I will replace that mantle before I use this again. So I'm not going to do that at the moment. So that's on there. Then it's just a matter of putting the globe on. We're going to put the vent on and the ventilator nut. You don't want to get those really super secure because as this all heats up, it expands, and if you tighten it too tight, your porcelain will crack around that hole. A lot of people over tighten these things. You want it to be just a little bit loose so when it heats up it doesn't hurt your porcelain. And this particular lantern, you can see the hole in the side there has to line up with that burner chamber. There's a hole in the burner chamber. It's hard for me to see because it's dark. There we go. For these holes to go in. So we'll put that one in, and the other side there. All right, and that's done. That's taken apart, cleaned up, and put back together. And all in all, with messing with the video and the ultrasonic cleaner, which I could have cleaned it without doing that, took me about 25 minutes. So pretty easy process. But this one's ready to go. I'll change that mantle out before I do it. Give me a like and a follow if you like this video. This is B-Hav from Tinkering with B-Hav. Thanks for watching.